Oh, are we? Oh, am I? Oh, is that a fact that I'm live? Who would have thought, right? Who would have known whether or not being live is the same thing as being alive? And now, since the camera does not work, I am left to speak and speak only. But that's not true. So 44 native tribes in the U.S. before European colonization that claimed natural indigenous native humans to said land. And then the displacement. The argument for Israel's disabandonment of statehood is that the kingdom, the kingdoms of Ephraim, and Simeon, the Moab, and the sort in Israel. Over time, Israel itself, the Empire of David and Solomon, right, was a smaller, more morphed landscape, right? And there were easements. There were easements, but there was always a desire for people to control the flow of information and goods from the southern hemisphere to Asia, as if there's information here. So I was suggesting to somebody, we don't want a two-state solution. We want to dissolve the state of Israel and put it back in an occupational status, not a UN definitional status, instead of asking the UN to grant statehood to Palestine. Okay, so Trump as rope-a-dope, Trump as long-term, Simpsons, Apprentice, mogul, mobster with the idea of being in for America's best interest. Now, I'm not saying he's not well motivated, just like I'm not saying that Alex Jones isn't, a seer into a prison planet, right? Poor soul. He sold his soul for a strap-on. This here fella. Now, but the thing is the rope-a-dope of Trump, right, whether or not he's in prison or not, because notice the date of this particular show is the 31st, or Halloween Day, if you will, 2023. And maybe all you soulful creatures deny the idea that one can't experience their own death, right? I don't know this. But so back to Israel, right? Phoenicia, the Philistina, Judah, the Amalekites, these made up the land of Solomon, right? Now, if one looks at if one looks up the lesser keys of Solomon, not Cornelius Agrippa, but one looks up the historic, arcane, esoteric aspects of the old Jewish magic or traditions. Not Goetia per se, as far as Greek magic, but liturgy or theurgy, right? Or the medium in which Christ used his divine connection to God as Son, so to say, as claimed Son, as a healing rod, healing mechanisms. and raising the dead and or fighting off spirits, right? The lineup of different angel sets. Atuchi Ashanam. Seven. Seraphim are the fifth level angels, right? Go. The lowest angel closest to man is a soul of fire angel, right? God's heart, if you will, is a fire heart to burn, to be a phoenix, is to enter into the soul of God's heart, right? To realize there are lives growing and there are lives falling, and there's lives growing and there's lives falling. Then there's the perennial, I will be transformed and embodied or re-embodied in like the Tibetan Book of the Dead into a living creature again, 3 out of 5 odds, or 2 disembodied odds, 1 for the red and 1 for the white, right? In terms of the afterlife. The orthogonal eschatology of the matter is what is at hand. And now the idea that throughout the Ukraine, in that particular area, what was it? That there was a claim, there was a decree of a whole population of honkies in this area. I mean, people with these white haploid structures, right? That the Black Hebrew Israelites, if you will, suggest were co-opted Jews that then gave mainstream to Ashkenazi traditional rabbinic tradition. Now, this though is very peculiar in my mind, right? I mean, Israel now wags the dog of the U.S., right? Israel being the tail, or maybe the front tail, maybe the phallus of the U.S. Saturnilla war god machine, right? And it's dictating where the proxy wars are in the world. And Russia denies that it's about territory with the Ukraine as much as it is about method of the West's means of central banking, as well as ongoing expenditures, and the idea of a different ideology on how culture and population should be ran. The thing is in one way, if the U.S. war machine and the expansion of the globe, the attempt of the population to take over the globe is not remitted, is not reapproached and allowed to legally be decimated or dislocated from the government, if we can't corporatize ourselves from the government, then there's a problem. Now, people might be upset at all the immigration coming in or the cultural dislocation, but perhaps an anti-corporate population of re-entering quote unquote natives, or the 19 Mexican American War, right, is being reclamated itself back to a native population, but more of a Hispanic native population. So the split between the green side of America, just west of the Mississippi to the Atlantic, and then the drier side from Nebraska all the way to the crescent side of the coast, the fertile Pacific plain, right, is very dry, but there's still more Indian tribes there that during the Louisiana Purchase we were able to summarily, like Manhattan, purchase and clear out, and the us being the supposed haploid structures, the admixture structures that popped up and that define what the Dutch, the Germans, the Anglos of England, well, what to say about the history of humanity, right? How far back is recent humanity, and how far back should we consider humanity when we're made to have a binary choice of pro-Israel or not pro-Israel as part of an inculcation of American Christianity, Protestant Christianity, and modern LDS highest financiers of Zionism? Poor soul. He sold his soul for a strap-on. Okay, and then the archons build the human body, right? Archons get together, and these are like high angels, different than, like the chimeric lion's head, horse's body with wings. No. Okay. The idea that one can peer back through Egypt, through all, through several thousand years of Egypt, good 4,000 plus years of Egyptian dynasties, right? As if from the hieroglyphs to the Demotic to the Greek, the whole expansion upward into the Caucasoid north, right? The argument about where the crescent, the basis of humanity, hence sprang, right? From, you could say, pre Homo sapiens sapiens, in terms of Neanderthal bloodlines, or the black MAMO gene that Africana, New Zealanders, whatnot have in terms of their notion of quick temperament, right? A specific gene that seems to be tied to temperament. Now this, along with the idea of a black Jesus, black pharaohs, black Hebrew Israelites, that the whole Abrahamic tradition is an Africana yet whitewashed tradition that's been co-opted and re-co-opted by Whitey, it is a hard pill, so to speak, for some people to swallow. And of course, this doesn't negate all of what Greece was and what Rome was, and the slide, the back and forth, the pre-knowledges that moved from Africa across the Mediterranean by boat, from the Library of Alexandria through the Cork, which is now Israel, modern day discrete outlined walls of Israel, right? It was not that information flow allowed the culture of Egypt and Greek to intermix, and Greek to be refined, where then Romans became a little lesser. Then they broke down. Then we're in the Dark Ages, the middle, well, not the Dark Ages yet, as we hadn't, it wasn't, it was kind of a dark age, a slow build through the Dark Ages prior to the Renaissance, for a very long period of illiteracy and monarchy and priestly class and scribes up until the printing press. And so just this little backscaling of information might be one to assume that even Mein Kampf, for the idea of eradicating a type of ongoing money manipulation or usury that was granted, or an absurd interest rate that was part of the any goyim's relationship to central bank, must be made to give interest on the dollar, right? And now this migration of power has gone to Switzerland banks, it's gone to the monarchies, still in England, United States, Paris, Israel, and these are still the main West power players, right? As we co-opt islands and displace islanders in Hawaii, they are our satellite state that is now media blacked out and in-person blacked out. Up, 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 oh, 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 oh. Anyway, so my thoughts is run for president. Run. Just do it. Just run for president again. Just get on the ticket. Why? I mean, it's a setup duopoly between Democrats and Republicans, like a sports team bullshit, right? So it's difficult to say, oh, I must and want to be part of this two-party back and forth. No way. Run as independent, as rare as it is. It's the same reason why Bernie Sanders was a sellout. When he had the chance to move to independent at the crucial time and take the win from Trump, he did not do it. Why? Somebody has been working with the Trump family like the Western monarch since The Simpsons had put him on, since he got notoriety, since WWF wrestling. Now, why does a homegrown, small town, 6'4" white Michael want to be president of the United States? Is strictly an angelic, prophetic notion, right? I must come down double-sworded on this and grant over all hedonistic and contradictory ethical positions before the campaign is very much on its way. Anyway, so I'm still, so my point is, right, is it's going to be a while to be able to back end into people's minds and back end myself into discussions, right, as if there's clout to be had, as if there's something to be done, as if all of this in this world isn't merely spiritual and mystical and nonsense. All right. Well, look, some people have some great ideas about how to fix our contemporary situation. The reintegration of humans, right? And the idea of a new nation state of laws is going to be reinstantiated if the Republican Party takes control. The control of critical race theory as a knowledge set is eschewed from anyone in their formative years. It's considered advanced, but it's also, to some extent, entirely antithetical to the Eurocentric colonized position that a country's identity or brand must hold. And when I say must, I don't mean it has to. I mean, it appears that some form of contemporary identification of what a nation state is, even Israel, must hold. So should have Israel attacked Hamas? Is Hamas as a proxy Iran organization of attack not also being funded back-endedly by the U.S.? In other words, did the U.S. create the enemy, the minor enemy of Israel, right? They call it a proxy of Iran, Hamas, right? But terrorism is a general thing. It's not like there's badge-wearing Hamas members. Certainly there's some of those, and then some people say, well, look, some of Hamas are of Israel, should not have had this particular penetration into their area, which means that it's an inside job. It's we're going to drop our shield. We're going to allow the U.S. to fund Iran, which will fund Hamas, and then they'll attack Israel. They'll sting the bear, or they'll pinch the tail of the U.S. dog, meaning they'll pinch Israel And then Israel, boom, gets to decimate the West Bank and displace and horrify whole populations and justify it, right? And there's plenty of women in the military that are able to fight because women are known to the Islamic countries that if men are killed by them, they go straight to hell. The theology, the Christian, Abrahamic, Muslim theologies have an underbelly, and there is, although narrative, an obscene amount of not needed isms, right? There's plenty of not, meaning one does not have to, in the modern day, accord to these old rules. Now, mythology through video games and movies might be considered decadent, hedonistic, or evil, but all these seem to be representative of the human mythological, psychological landscape in its plurality, right? But humanity is meant to be restrictive to a point for definition, a particular aperture of consideration, right? And so, once again, the brand of what modern America is, the homeless get taken care of first across everything. Now, if Indian nations need supplementation from the U.S. federal government, they get it. We de-incorporatize the whole Western system. We move away from law of the water and we go to law of the land, and we reset constitutional standards, abandoning the edicts of the 13th Amendment or post-slavery incarceration labor. Thanks for your time. And there's more. There's more. In terms of, if we are going to denote everybody and give them cell phones as tracking devices, what else do the quote unquote illegals of current legal status? What are they supposed to have? Ankle bracelets, perhaps. Does vast deportation, is that going to occur? Is a new national rally of in-group and out-group populism going to occur? Yes, probably so. Oh, I'm out, and thanks for your time. Namaste, vote for me. La